bit off air, but everything could change obviously with the breeze of the wind. But I wanted to ask a little bit about what you think about Lou Lamoriello's legacy when leaving the Islanders. Now, this is, again, like if he wins a cup, obviously I think it's rosy and it's fantastic. If he doesn't win a cup, and this is where Grumpy and I didn't necessarily see eye to eye, if he doesn't win a cup, how will his legacy be remembered? He's a guy who definitely did bring legitimacy back to this organization and franchise, which is a huge need. But, you're also going to be remembered for that Devon Toews trade. You're going to be remembered for those time periods of gutting the farm system and leaving, the prospect pool completely vacant. And in a desolate wasteland where you're going to have a rebuild in some capacity. But I wanted to get your take. If we don't win a cup, what does a legacy look like? Because I think we can all agree if the Islanders win a cup, the legacy is an A.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that how many cups did he win with the Devils? 3 or 2? Yeah, so I mean, so I think his whole legacy is pretty solidified, and he also won.
I mean,
didn't he win 2? What's that?
I mean, just with the Islanders. So how does his
the Islanders? Well,
just the Islanders?
Yeah, well, he won the best GM for twice. Did he win it with the Islanders?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that right there, But hopefully, if the Islanders suck this year, I really hope ownership realizes that it's time for a huge change. You got to get rid of Lou and you got to bring in new people, because how much longer are you going to try this and it just keeps floundering?
Yeah, and again, like I think Grump and I have talked about it. We don't really think those general manager of the awards hold much water. I know that maybe in the community it does, but I think that if he goes out, right, he doesn't win himself a cup. I think he'll always be remembered for somebody who did bring legitimacy back to the team and the organization. But in the same token, I look at the aftermath that he's going to leave behind. I think it's going to sour the taste in some fans' mouths. Grumpy doesn't think so. No. I do, Grump.
This season, I think, is really going to tell a lot, because if this season, if they are suddenly great again, then definitely all is forgiven. If suddenly Romanov is great and everyone and everything comes together and everything gels, and Barzal and also Barzal is great again, but if it's another bad year, then I think his legacy would be tainted. But it's still, I think, Hall of Fame worthy with those 3 cups and the 2 GM awards. So.
Oh, yeah, for what he did before the Islanders. I mean, the guy's definitely one of those first ballot Hall of Fame general managers. But, yeah, I just always wonder what Islander fans will think about his tenure on the island. If it's just going to be enough to say we made it to 2 Eastern Conference Finals, and that's given us a little bit of light in what has been a dreary time period. Grump, I know you want to chime in. Go ahead.
Yeah, my perspective is, remember where the Islanders came, where they were for decades before he got there, okay? He comes in, he and Barry Trotz, and I think we can see now it was mostly Barry Trotz.
For certain, it was all Barry Trotz.
I'll say mostly, because he had to get hired, and people are going to remember. Okay, we didn't win anything, but we did get to the semifinals before we lost to the eventual champions, and that's what people are going to remember. And even if it goes back to being the dark times again, they'll have that, particularly the younger fans will have that little glimmer of those couple of years. So I think he'll be looked at fondly regardless. Now, if they totally go in the cellar and he starts chasing and he's not moved on by Ledecky and Malkin, then you could run into an issue. Whereas if this is his last year, which I think it should be, honestly, either way, and as long as they don't bring Fredo in as a GM, I think that from my perspective, he's going to be looked at fondly by New York Islander fans.
See, it's just one of those where I just can't see it. They'll remember, right, the 2 Eastern Conference Finals. And I think the 2 things that Lou Lamoriello has done is a fantastic job here as general manager for us. Again, brought stability back, signing Barry Trotz as head coach was huge, and bringing Sorokin over. Those are really the 3 things I think that will always have a positive look and a view and an outlook on his tenure here as a general manager. But I'm looking at the negatives and the misses. They're starting to add up, unfortunately. And depending how this Kadri contract looks, if he does sign with the Islanders, I think that has a chance to be a real negative long-term thorn in a foot. And I don't know what else is going to happen, right? If he has other moves to bring in a guy like a JT Miller to help round out, a winger on the first line, I think maybe, it could change the outlook, because I think it makes us more competitive for the now. But, man, I just look at those Devon Toews trades. I look at the firing of a guy like Barry Trotz. We were calling for that But is the guy like Lane Lambert? Is he going to help win a cup? Is he going to be a guy, first time head coach, that's going to be out of his depths, or is he going to go ahead and walk in and win a cup? So I mean, there's a lot of question marks behind it, but
also it's going to depend how long Kadri gets. If it's just a few years, fine. But if they give him a ridiculously long contract, then that's going to probably sink the team.
Rumor is 7 by 7, 7 years, $7 million per. And I'm just like, so again, we don't know anything that. The rumors, anything that Lou puts out there is always close to the vest, so I try to take it with a grain of salt.
You realize that most Islander fans are not smart. They don't listen to this show. They listen to the, whatever the media cartel, just bap, 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 yes, whatever you say. So they go whatever they say. Where, the discerning Islander fan maybe will view him a little bit differently, but the regular plebeians, the ones not intelligent enough to listen to TJ and the Grumpy Old Man with Greg Prado on tonight, they probably won't look at it the same way that we do.
Yeah.
How old is also Kadri? Is he 30 or
30.
something? Or
32.
All right, so if he signs for 7 years, he'll be here till almost he's 40.
Yes.
Yeah.
That definitely makes a lot of sense.
It scares me. It scares me a lot. I don't think any fan who's, I think most fans agree that it's good in the short term, but long term, it's going to be a hideous contract. So that's why I was wondering, what does the legacy look like? Because we're going for broke, right? We're going all for it, all in right now. And, Grumpy and I don't agree how long a rebuild would take of that magnitude, but that's fine. There will be a rebuild that would occur.
Let me actually ask you something, TJ. What if the Islanders win a Stanley Cup this year and then suck for the next 10 years afterwards?
That's fine. I'm fine with that. I hate
to say it. I think I probably 100% agree with you with that.
I was about to say, like, if they win a cup, right, you always go through time periods where teams have to rebuild. If you win the cup, that's what it's all about. I wouldn't mind at all a time period of, a destitute Islanders team if it resulted in one cup. Because what we've known is just consistent rebuild upon rebuild for the last two plus decades. And, what I worry is the window has shut, and now we're throwing more assets for the future after what is a closed window, and it's just going to be all for naught. So, where the team is, I think this year tells a lot about it. This is one of those years we look at, one of the franchise altering year. I think this has the chance to be one of those.
Here's the way I look at it. You talk about the window being closed. It reminds you, remember the movie Wizard of Oz? Like where you got, the farm hands are like boarding up the windows. That's where we are right now. The Stanley Cup is the hurricane, is the tornado, and we are boarded up inside a building before we just get swept away.
Oh man, it's not great, Grump. It's not great. But let's jump into some. Unless Grump